The council meeting of May 7 will come to order. Good evening. Would ask that all in attendance please turn off or silence your electronic devices, and if you would all please stand to honor God and country. Father God, lead us to look to the past with gratitude and to the future with hope. We remember those who have gone before us, who labored not for themselves alone, but with a vision of building for the future a world better than they had known. We lift our first responders to you, thankful for their service and praying your hedge of protection around them. Inspire us to labor for things beyond ourselves. Release us from cynicism and despair. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Persons wishing to be heard on items not on the agenda can turn in a form to the city clerk, seated to your right. First order of business this evening, if Police Chief Ken Albana would please approach the podium to honor National Police Week. It's backwards day at City Hall. Chief, this evening a proclamation of the City of Temple Terrace for National Police Week. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas 158 police officers in the United States lost their lives in the line of duty last year, and whereas preliminary 2019 reports as of April 16, 2019 indicate that 68 police officers throughout the United States have already lost their lives in the line of duty, and whereas Temple Terrace police officers play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the City of Temple Terrace, and Temple Terrace police officers unwaveringly serve all people, safeguarding life and property, protecting them against violence and disorder, protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas every time an officer falls, our communities lose so much more than a public servant. We lose a friend, a family member, a loved one, but most of all we lose heroes who were willing to sacrifice everything to keep us safe. Now, therefore, I, Mel Jurado, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of May 12th through the 18th as National Police Week, and May 15th, 2019 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in Temple Terrace, in memory and honor of those law enforcement officers who through their courageous deeds have made the ultimate sacrifice or become permanently disabled during the performance of their duty. Chief, would you like to say a few words?
Well, thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. It is truly my honor to stand before you representing the men and women of the Temple Terrace Police Department. Men and women who put the uniform on, pin the badge on every day, kiss their families, and come to serve our great community. We are blessed in as much as we have a community that truly supports us, that turns out time and time again in support of us. We're blessed to have a city council that likewise understands the role that we play, the hazards that we face, and so we thank you. I would certainly ask that going into next week that maybe we pause tonight just for a moment of silence for the 158 souls that were lost last year, and certainly it would be my prayer that we don't come anywhere near that this year. I would also ask everyone in the community and you to have two of our officers on their minds that are even now moving toward Portsmouth, Virginia. They'll be riding in the Unity Tour. I hope to get some pictures back from that. It's a great thing where law enforcement officers from around the United States converge on Washington in support of Peace Officers Memorial Day and the celebration of the sacrifice of those souls at the National Memorial. So if we could just have a moment of silence for those lost souls and those that have already been lost this year. Thank you.
Chief, could you give us the name of the two officers who are on the ride?
Yes, ma'am. Captain Michael Pridemore, and Officer O'Hare. Officer O'Hare.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Oh,
Our super technician is at work here.
On this week that also honors teachers and their contributions to our community, we welcome those in attendance for their State of the School presentation and would remind all to thank a teacher this week. We will begin our State of the School presentations with Principal Lane Morris of Woodmont Charter School to again give us Woodmont's State of the School presentation. Principal Morris.
I'm limping a little bit. I played basketball with the middle school kids today, so I got a pulled hammy. I'm blessed to be the principal at Woodmont Charter School for just a little over 2 years. We serve about 750 kids here in the community. It's about 19 schools they come from. We serve 100% of our children are free and reduced lunch. We feed them breakfast, lunch, and snack every day, including Saturdays. We also serve a population of approximately 96% minority. We were very blessed by the gift of God to be a B school last school year, and we're looking to at least repeat the school grade of a B, if not hitting the A. So why are we so great? Number one, we got God that's living and breathing in our school. It's just amazing to see the work that's going on. We've reduced our discipline referrals by 78% in the last 2 years. The reason we've created a men's and women's mentoring group, two nonprofit organizations, one being the Men of Vision, who have provided our young men with $40,000 of college scholarships over the last 2 years. A new organization called Polished that serve our female population, which right now we have a contribution of $20,000 for those young ladies for college scholarships. We have a phenomenal art program. We had 3 kids that won first prize in the state art contest, one being leadership of African Americans. And it was a young man that drew a picture of our dean who served 20 years in the Marines and did 5 tours. He taught the young man how to tie a bow tie. And so it's just an amazing mentoring that we see throughout our school. But probably our biggest contribution has been this year, our biggest award is our 8th grade students. 68% of my 8th grade students this year got the opportunity to choose the school they will be attending in high school. No longer will district lines, no longer will anybody tell my kids where they have to go. Because of their academic gain and because of their belief in themselves, they'll pick where they want to go. So there's a lot of the highlights is Brooks DeBartolo, Tampa Bay Tech. A couple of our boys want to go to Armwood, play football. We got 2 in IB Hillsboro, and then we'll feed the new Patel charter school in the community. So I love that our kids are believing and owning that. It's just been amazing. I want to thank the community. The police department is absolutely amazing. I thank you for having Officer Patterson come back and visiting us. It's just a positive light in our community, and the stigmatism is slowly but surely going away at our school. I want to thank our local churches. Mission Hills Church has been absolutely amazing. We have a brand new piano. We have a chorus club that will be performing through the donations, also through the prayer walk. It's just been amazing to come inside the community, to have a community to serve us. And so we look to give back more this year. I do have a couple gifts. Can I come and share with you, ma'am? It's gonna be slow. I'm walking like Rod. This is our sports shirt for you. All right, but we want to make you a member of our female mentoring group as a college. So you get a little bling bling for it out there. We like shiny and pretty. I would love for you guys just to come to the school. You're more than welcome. Like I said, we're open Monday through Friday till 6:30 a.m. till 6 p.m. And then we're also open on Saturdays from 9 to 12 to serve our kids. So if you get an opportunity to come by, we'd love to have you. I thank you so much. I think you're the only mayor I've ever met in 21 years that comes and volunteers at my school every week, and so I'm truly blessed to be a part of the community. Thank you.
Next, we have
I did. Well, I'm sorry. You know, always. And our theme this year is about winning the day. And our kids know if we win the day, we'll win the week. And if we win the week, we'll win the month. If we continue to win, we'll win our dreams. So I brought bracelets for everybody if we win the day. Individually wrapped, so no germs on them. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Moore. And next is Principal Joseph Castelli from Armwood High School, with a coach the podium for his day in school presentation. Good evening, Principal.
Good evening. Thank you all for allowing me here tonight. My name is Joe Castelli, and I am the proud principal of Armwood High School. We serve approximately 2,200 students at Armwood, and we are celebrating our 34th graduating class this year. Of our graduating class, 53 students will be walking after already earning, this past Friday, their AA degree. Our graduates are also walking with close to $2 million in scholarship money this year to various universities, colleges, and technical schools. Our seniors will be celebrating their last day at Armwood, visiting 6 of our feeder elementary and middle schools for our 4th annual grad walk. This time of year is always an exciting time to be a Hawk. Our collegiate academy is strong as ever. Next year's 9th grade class capped out already after only one application window, proving word of our success is growing. Next year, our collegiate academy, which is our magnet program, will be close to 450 students strong. Not only does this academy prove to be a game changer for many first-time college goers, it allows Armwood to offer over 30 dual enrollment courses that are open, collegiate or not, to all of our juniors and seniors that are eligible. Our graduation rate is 85%, and we are well on our way to reaching our district goal, or the district goal of 90% in 2020. In fact, over the last 2 years, we have the one, if not the biggest, increase in graduation rate of all 5 surrounding counties, including Hillsborough, of 21%. So that is a pretty dramatic increase, and we're very proud of that. We are currently 46 points away from earning a school grade of a B, and when we achieve that B, it will be the 2nd time in school history and the 1st since 2011. Our performing arts programs continue to grow. Our drama department just completed its 2nd full year, and our music department has grown enough to house 2 teachers. Now, last year I was a cameo role in the school play. As a principal, I was not asked back in The Little Mermaid this year, but we will move on. Our marching band is now over 120 members. Our career and technical programs continue to impress and grow at Armwood. We have our traditional programs such as business and marketing, culinary, ROTC, health sciences, and agriculture, but our most unique is machining. Our machining tech program utilizes CNC machine training, and students leave with their machining certifications. We are the only program in Hillsborough County to have that. Next year, we will produce our first completers for this program. Again, thank you for your time this evening, and go Hawks.
And before you leave, could you share some insights? A lot of our teachers from the community do watch our council meetings. What do you attribute that increase in graduation rate to? A 21-point jump in 1 year is really phenomenal.
Grassroots-wise, we started, we'll start with the students. We had a couple student-led programs that saw our low graduation rate a couple years ago, and they decided to make a upperclassmen mentor program, which now, 2 years later, has 100 freshmen a year served and paired with 100 juniors and seniors that take them under the wing. let them, whether they're very successful all throughout their high school career or face the same challenges as a freshman themselves, they're able to meet with them on a weekly to sometimes daily basis during their lunches. We're very strategic about the scheduling with those kids to make sure their mentors have the same lunch period and connect them early on. Also, our mission every day, or our mission is every student, every day, no excuses. So we paired that with just knowing our standards. You know, our kids have to pass the darn FSA, and that is the Florida Standard Assessment. So our teachers have got to know how to deconstruct those standards and be very visible with that teaching each and every day. So we started with that each and every classroom, and we haven't left that instructional priority over 2 years, and we're continuing to grow, so we're not recreating the wheel or trying something new every year. So that has been a big shift. And also, like we just heard, student groups like Men of Vision, Sisters for Success, those mentoring groups with certain teachers in our school have also just given more relationships or built relationships with our kids.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Principal.
You got it. Thank you, guys.
I did not see him come in, but do want to ask if Principal Montoto from Thonotosassa Elementary has come in. Okay, he must have been held up in traffic. Thank you. Council, if the minutes of the April 16, 2019 City Council meeting are acceptable, would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections? All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay sign. Thank you. Minutes stand approved. Persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda, a 3-minute time limit will be imposed on all comments from the public. As speakers come to the podium, please state your name and your city of residence. During public comment on items that are not on the agenda, the city manager and directors in attendance do make note of these items that are related to city business. And first this evening, Ahmad Badir.
Hello, good evening. My name is Ahmed Badir. I'm here representing the Islamic Society of Tampa Bay area. It's a mosque and community center on Sly and Orient Road. Some of you have been there. The reason for my appearance today is to tell you about Ramadan. This is in the manner of education, for the purpose of education. It's not proselytizing. But just simply to inform you that we're currently in the month of Ramadan. It's a holy month for Muslims, and you should also be familiar with it as you have Muslims on staff here. So for Muslims worldwide, there's approximately 1.5 billion Muslims around the world. 1 in every 5th person in the world is a Muslim. There's no nationality to being Muslim. There's no ethnicity. There's no race. Just like Christianity, it's a religion. It's a belief in a certain, ideology. And for Ramadan, it's a special time of year for us. It's the holiest time of the year. It happens to be the 9th month on the Muslim calendar. It's called the Hijri calendar. The Jewish calendar is called the Hebrew calendar, also has its own, follows the lunar system. So if you notice, for example, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Passover changes every year by dates. It's not always the same exact date. So it's not like Christmas where it's always on December 25th. It changes. So the same way for Muslims, our Ramadan, our holy days also change based on the lunar system. We happen to be in the year 1440 in the Muslim Hijri calendar. In comparison, the Jewish Hebrew calendar is 5,700 and something. So a much older religion. We're the baby religion in comparison in the monotheistic faith. So in essence, for Muslims, we believe, just as Jesus in Christianity was a continuation of Judaism, because if you follow Scripture, Jesus was a Jew. He was from the children of Israel. He came to continue that religion and came about Christianity. We believe that Muhammad came to continue the religion of Christianity. So we believe it's all the same religion from the same God. We don't have separate gods, but it's all the same God, following the same religion, trying to follow the golden rule of do unto others what you want done to yourself. So back to Ramadan. In the Quran, the book that we follow, God tells us the purpose of Ramadan. He says that fasting was prescribed to us as Muslims, as it was prescribed to people of other faith before us, in order for us to attain piety. So it acknowledges that people, other faith, have also had different forms of fasting. Catholics have a fast, Jewish community has a fast. So this is not something, not ordinary. Muslims also are fasting during the month of Ramadan, which started yesterday. And for a period of 30 days, we abstain from eating and drinking and consuming anything about an hour before sunrise all the way until sunset. So does anybody know what time sunset is today?
I bet you do.
Yeah, it's 8:05. We know it by the minute because that's when we can eat. Okay? And when you don't eat all day or drink anything all day, you take it for granted. So it's like by the second, as soon as that clock hits, we're eating, we're drinking, we're celebrating our faith. So it's really important. So we have actually a schedule. And, Muslims, whether we go to the mosque to break fast or we're at home, we have a calendar. It tells us exactly minute by minute when we can stop eating in the morning before sunrise and when we can start eating again. And for us, it changes our whole, daily life. It turns our day upside down because no longer can we eat during the day. We can't have that coffee. It breaks us out of our routine. So we eat at night, for example, at the local mosques here, the one that's a SLI, Islamic Society of Tampa Bay area, and the one that's in Temple Terrace. Muslims are congregating there every night. For example, last night we had over 1,000 people breaking fast at the mosque, and we'll have that every night. What's also unique about the month of Ramadan is we have nightly prayers. So from somewhere around 9 to 11:30, sometimes midnight, Muslims are still congregating at the mosque. Don't think it's anything suspicious. We're there praying, but during the month of Ramadan, we have these special nightly prayers. So we invite you to actually join us and break fast with us at the mosque at sometime this month. We're actually going to extend an invitation to you via email of what that date would, that would be okay for both of us, and I would love to have you to be there. And at the end, there's a lot of great things physically and spiritually when you fast that benefits oneself and the community. So we're glad that we're participating in Ramadan and that Ramadan is becoming more of an American holiday and spirit. So thank you for this time.
Thank you very much. Charles Loeb.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Charles Loeb. I live in Linebaugh Avenue, which is Tampa. First of all, I want to wish all the mothers happy Mother's Day coming up. And the main reason I'm coming here tonight is because of the fact I did want to mention that our little community is forming a neighborhood association, which is on the boundary with you all. It's called the Terrace Heights Association, and its boundary is on the heights of Temple Terrace, on around 50th Street, 52nd Street, so on and so forth and so on. The reason I bring this up is because hopefully over the years in the future and all that, we'll be able to work into projects together. Right now, we're in the stage where we're just going through the bylaws, so going through the details of the bylaws. So I did want to let you know that. I came to the April 18th town hall meeting on the transportation, and I did notice, I looked through your projects, and one of the projects I noticed that you're working with the city of Tampa, it was along Serena in phase 2. There are things that people who live in the neighborhood, I noticed what you have in mind, there's actually more that really needs to be done along Serena, and that people, for example, would know that better who actually live in the particular neighborhood. That would be to, tell you that. One thing that concerns me, especially with the principal here from Woodmont, that I discussed over on April 18th, for those who were not there, was the fact about having if the money for the sales tax could be used to help with the crossings in the morning and in the afternoon with the school children over on 56 and Serena. I hope Beth Alderman can find that answer. And one other thing, I guess, because otherwise I'll finish tonight, I do have the card from, I don't know if you all need this or not, but I do have the card from the man who's actually the one who really kind of organizes these neighborhood, these neighborhood community things. And if you'd like me to leave that with Cheryl or something like that, or with you all, so you could go talk with him, and it would be maybe an idea to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Is there anyone else who would like to address council on items not on the agenda this evening? Seeing none, we will move forward with item 8A, a resolution approving adjustments to the 2019 budget. Finance Director Lynn Boswell will present.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councilmen, council members. I bring before you a resolution to appropriate the budget, revise the budget for the 2018-19 budget, and I stand for questions.
Are there any members of the public that would like to address council on this item? I guess our clerk is saying no. Council, do you have any questions?
I asked mine earlier.
What is the nature of the adjustment?
There's two parts to it. The first part are approvals that were already made for the 17-18 budget. They were encumbered, but were not totally spent by September 30th and are reflected as really good fund balances in your audit. And the others are about 3.5 million we received that we did not expect, that was not budgeted for in 2019, and that was for the land sale. And we want to make everything super clean. The auditor, though they've seen the resolutions approving some of our appropriations in the past, would rather see something a little bit more formal that shows both the revenue and the expenditures in a resolution in this manner.
The only reason, I'm sorry, the reason I ask is that we see the literature, but people who are watching on TV may not see what the nature of the adjustments are, and the fact that our rules and accounting government accounting rules require adjustments to be approved by council or the governing body when they reach a certain level. So that's all.
Okay.
Are there any other questions, Council? Councilman Shalura.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Ms. Boswell. I do have a question. I don't have my iPad. I forgot it this evening, but just quickly, if you can, and I'm not sure if it's even on here, how are you adjusting the payments for the redevelopment? Obviously, that loan's been paid down.
Yes.
So when we approved the budget in October of last year,
Yes.
that loan was still active, so
That
it's
is
been paid
correct.
down, and hopefully more payments are going to be made this year if the property's closed. How did you handle that for the folks that are listening and for us that are up here?
Yes, the council made a motion to take that money back in December, once we got it. The council made a motion to take that money and to pay down our $10 million interest-only loan, and that's exactly what happened, and that's exactly what was done there. The budget still has not been adjusted since then. We will talk about that this year. The budget hasn't been adjusted, but the payments have, because the payments went down as soon as we paid down our loan. It went down almost a third.
Well, I guess that's what I'm alluding to, is the payments. The loan amount, the purchase amount, I know the council had taken action to lower the debt, but the payments were budgeted to continue on at that rate. Obviously, a $3.5 million payment was made, which would lower our monthly payments.
Correct.
So how is that going to be handled? Is that, because obviously there's additional revenues sitting somewhere now that's going to transfer somewhere else. How are you planning on handling that?
That will affect our appropriation for general fund in the next funding cycle, and that is also something that we can talk about this year. City manager and myself have some ideas of even using what was not spent, because we were able to lower it to continue to pay down that principal portion, but that's something that we can discuss during budget time.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. That's the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Are there any other questions? If acceptable, would entertain a motion approving the adjustments to the 2019 budget.
Move to approve the resolution adjusting the budgets.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion, Council? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Boswell. Next, a resolution approving the execution of a warranty deed with Enigma Events, LLC. City Attorney Pam Shoshone will present.
Thank you. As everyone knows, the council had approved the sale of the property at 8633 North 56th Street. We entered into a contract to sell that property to Enigma Events, LLC, on February the 19th of 2019. Closing was scheduled to occur on June the 20th, but the purchaser as was allowed to them under the contract, they wanted to move the closing up to this Friday. So, keeping my fingers crossed, all the papers have been prepared. I've sent them all to the closing agent this morning, and all I need from you now is a resolution approving the city manager to sign the deed. That's basically it, and I'm recommending that you give him that approval.
Thank you, Ms. Shashan. Are there members of the public wishing to address council on this item? Seeing none, I would ask if there are council questions. Seeing none, if acceptable, would entertain a motion authorizing the execution of a warranty deed with Enigma Events LLC for property located on the southeast corner of Chicago Avenue and 56th Street. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Shalura.
Thank you. Mr. Schoen,
Yes.
at what point, when you do the closing statement, if there's any charges above and beyond the normal course, we're giving you authorization to go ahead and close it. So would we see that as a council, or you just close it? And the reason I'm saying is, a few years back, when the city had refinanced money, the bank's attorney had charged us $5,000, our attorney had charged us $12,000. I'm not saying you're doing that, this was a firm outside house. And we had discussion about that, so although this council has authorized the sale of that property, the closing statement can have many things on there if they're not, traditional expenses.
I can provide you a copy of the closing statement. There are only 2 expenses on there attributed for us in our column. One is the Realtor's commission, and the other one is that we're charged to pay the dock stamps. And under the contract, that was an obligation of ours. Everything else, cost of the survey, the title search, the title insurance, the recording of the deed, that is all on the purchaser's side of that's in their column. So we have only 2 expenses under that closing statement.
Okay, so we're not paying the title insurance? The seller?
No. The
That's how it
seller,
was negotiated?
the buyer, the purchaser is
Okay.
paying for the title insurance.
Thank you, you answered my question.
We've only got 2 things that are on our side.
Yeah.
The closing statement and one is
So-
the
That's-
broker fee. One is a broker fee and the other is the closing doc,
Okay. Well,
recording
thank you
docs.
for making that clear, I appreciate it, thank you.
We could certainly give you a copy of
I'm
it.
good, I believe you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions, council? Seeing none, if acceptable, would entertain a motion approving, we've already done that. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, nay sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Council business. Is there any carryover business from our previous meeting, council? Seeing none, is there any new business to come before council? Okay, we'll go first with Councilman Ross, then we'll go to Councilman Schisler.
Just a couple questions for the city manager. When are we, do you know yet when you're going to be ready for us to start meeting on the budget? 'Cause we're heading into vacation season. We have, directors already started putting in next year's budget numbers. They're now working on year-end numbers for this year. City manager actually did it backwards. The only one that did it, he did it backwards. But we're looking to get that in the system. We're looking to have this done by the end of this month and first week in June. Start meeting with the department directors to solidify a budget. When do you think we might start meeting? We're probably looking at the latter part of June into July to start doing presentations to council. Okay. We're trying to get it done early. We don't want to wait until August.
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting at, though, is everybody's vacation over the summer.
Yeah. A lot of this hinges on directors getting budgets into their system and then getting capital expenses, so on and so forth. And once all that's in, finance director and the city manager sit down, we see what's there, make sure that everything's there, then we start talking to department heads.
And a related question, and if you don't know the answer to this, it's fine. If I'd have thought about this earlier, I would have called you, but since we're here, Do you know what the status is of with FEMA? Or have we received any reimbursement from the hurricane from FEMA yet?
It has all been submitted. You know what? Let me ask Lynn to come up, because I know she's been working really hard with
Okay,
this.
okay, well, I'm not,
And we've
this
had,
is-
no, we know the status of it.
okay, this is a
But
spur of the moment
This is something
question,
that
so if
she's
you
been
don't
working
know,
on
that's
really
fine.
hard
but-
with, and we'll let her kind of take the kudos here, because it's moving forward, believe
Good,
me.
okay.
Okay.
We have approximately 6 projects. 2 projects have already been approved for payment. They're not that much. They're about $12,000. Then there's 2 more that they're reviewing right now. Actually, there's 3 more that they are reviewing. One is pending further review. The other is just a simple review, and we just completed our clarifications for that just last week. And we don't know if they're going to mix them together as one payment or if they're going to go ahead and split them out into the 3 projects. So those are pending over in FEMA. 2 of them are already been approved, and the mayor just signed today that, yes, we are going to go ahead and accept the funds from FEMA, pass through the state of Florida. And then the very last project is when everything is said and done, we get a percentage, just a flat percentage of all of the costs that was incurred, and that's going to be the last project. That doesn't get submitted until everything's been obligated. I talked with them even yet today. They still think it's this fiscal year that we would be able to get reimbursed. That's what our status is.
Yeah,
And-
we've really, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to ask Lynn, so on the first 2 projects that have been approved and submitted, it's a $12,000. On the 3 that are currently in FEMA's hands, can you give us an estimate on what those 3 projects total?
No, I can't.
I can't. It's
Okay,
about
good.
$900,000
Okay,
we've got laying out there.
very good.
Can you repeat that? I don't think they heard.
I'm sorry?
I don't think they heard you.
We've got about $900,000 out there we're waiting to get funded. I will tell you this, that we've reached out to our counterparts at the county, and the county hasn't received any money either.
No, I know.
Going through this filing of paperwork is an enormous challenge, because every time we did it, they changed the rules. We had to go back and start changing stuff. So it's FEMA. I don't know what else to tell you.
And remind us what year that storm hit.
That was in 17.
That's normal.
September, no, it is. Listen, I've dealt with this in the past. We waited 3 years for money, so it is not unusual. But I know that the finance department is on top of this, and they're staying with it, so.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Thank you, Councilman Ross. Councilman Schisler.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to give everybody a quick update on Greco Middle School. They had a parents' meeting, community meeting last week, and the point that I wanted to bring forward was that in the past, they said, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to have a community school, we're going to bring an IB, but they never talked about the guts of how they're going to improve the school in the immediate future. They did that this time, and they did that in a way of explaining as to how they're going to shore up the educational infrastructure, bring in 18 new teachers from around the state. Principal Olson discussed their CVs and at 10,000 feet, but they were pretty impressive. And it looks like they're really doing what they said they were going to do in as much as bringing together the infrastructure so that the kids can excel academically, and it looks like they're positioning themselves for what could be a really good year. Made a point of bringing that up to Mr. Olson after the meeting, because we've had discussions on this in the past in the school support meeting. So I felt that it was important that the council knows, given the level of interest that we've had with the efforts at Greco, I think they're doing what they said they're going to do, and I think it could be really a pretty good year for them. So we'll see, fingers crossed, but we'll keep council appraised as we go forward.
Very good. Thank you,
Thank you.
Councilman Schisler. Is there any other new business to come before?
I just,
Councilman Donahue.
yeah, I know this sounds a really, maybe even a silly announcement. I just wanted to remind everybody that the city partners with the Rotary Club of Temple Terrace to produce the Brew Fest, the Temple Terrace Craft Brew Fest. That's coming up on May 18th, and tickets are still available, although I believe we've gone over the 800 mark, so momentum is coming up. And the money this year will benefit, in the large part, our new Boys and Girls Club of Temple Terrace. So if you don't have your tickets yet, you need to start looking.
Thank you. Councilman Shalura.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick update to the council. The Board of County Commissioners recently have approved a additional 1 cent tax increase for the bed tax for the TDC. So there's going to be a 6 cent now. And the commissioners are looking to the TDC to recommend how that money is to be distributed. So for the folks here in Temple Terrace that we normally get little to nothing out of that fund compared to the other jurisdictions, just food for thought, that there's additional revenues that's going to be generated. And I know Plain City normally does pretty well at the table, and we haven't gotten too much out of it. So if, as the representative to the TDC, if I can be of assistance, certainly reach out. But I wanted to make everybody aware of that. That's the direction it's going, that money has not been allocated exactly the 1 cent, but they're working on it. So just a heads up. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? I would like to share our city staff has embarked in a partnership with Habitat for Humanity. We were blessed that we completed 2 projects last year. There are 3 on the books this year, and the first one is actually a woman build. Men, don't close off your ears, because up to 20% of the team can be men. Leading the charge for our staff is Christina Stam. Her phone number, 506-6422. There are 3 dates that the team will be out building: May 16th, May 21st, and May 30th. It is a 7:30 a.m. to a 2:30 p.m., but we would love our community to join us. If you are interested, please reach out to Christina. It is a great opportunity as we look at bringing together our community and really celebrating a unity in our diversity. It is a wonderful project. I participated in a couple of the builds last year, just finished a mayor's build last year, or last month over in Clearwater, and when you're swinging a hammer or laying sod, real friendships can develop, and there's a great opportunity to bond with others. So again, May 16th and May 21st are real key days that she's looking for more team members. May 30th looks pretty good right now, but again, it's Christina Stam, who is in our customer service area, and 506-6422, and we'd love to invite others to join in the fun. And we will turn it over to Mr. Stevenson for the city manager's report.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got just really some information to share with council here. Are we up and running on that PowerPoint? Okay. If we can ask Ms. Kim Straub to come up to the podium. We have given you a artist rendering of something that we've been working on for a while, and I know Kim has been working a long time on this. Certainly something that I offered as the city to partner with the Arts Council. And it's basically a painting an intersection at Glen Ridge and Inverness with the graphic that you have in front of you. We have been very supportive of the arts and certainly would encourage more and more of this. We're looking at doing this on May 18th. We're looking for anyone that wants to come out and paint and volunteer. It starts at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. And if we don't get it done by 4 o'clock, we'll come down to Brewfest and no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, that's not going to work very well. But anyway, Kim has got a very brief presentation that she'd like to show you to kind of give you a little bit of update on this project that she's been working on. So if you can get her up and running, Cheryl, that'd be great.
Brian, if you can bring that up.
Oh, there we go. So I'll be very brief, but what I want to cover is the value of intersection art, show a quick video, talk about a few styles of art, and then how we see intersection art in Temple Terrace and the expectation for the artist. I mean, this is something that's a process. It wasn't just, oh, hey, let's find somebody who feels like they want to do a drawing and we'll slap it on our street and go. It's very important to us. This is a piece of our history. This is a first of its kind in Temple Terrace, and we want it to be the best that it can be. The value of intersection art is, of course, that it adds interest, it can make a bland area brighter, it can add focus and beauty, but the big three reasons that we're talking about is it can mitigate traffic, it can build community sense, and it can reduce crime. And those are three really big things. I was looking for some research, and I did find a document about Paint the Intersection from the city of Tampa. It's a little bit old, but I think it's still relevant, and you can let me know what you think of it. The main concern reported to the police department and the traffic engineering by residents regarding the livability of their local neighborhood residential streets is speeding vehicles and excessive cut-through traffic. And that's not news. We've been hearing about that. With increases in traffic volumes, roadway constraints, frustrated commuters often resort to using local roads to bypass congested collector roads or intersections. Usually in a hurry to get to work or home, commuters may ignore the residential speed limits. The result is a reduction in the livability of our residential neighborhoods and perceived unsafe conditions. I'm going to see if I can really do this. Ooh. Okay. The process of creating intersection art can build relationships with increased communication between neighbors and can ultimately lower crime rates because, let's face it, it is much more risky to enter an area and get away with anything if people are talking to each other and watching out for each other. With this strengthened sense of community awareness comes increased livability, and the neighborhood develops a unique identity which is expressed in the public art. I love this phrase here, catch the eye, situate the mind, and lighten the right foot. Now, I hope that we're going to see the video. But maybe we won't. There we go. If you could scroll down a little bit to the actual video, it's just past all the verbiage. Yes, and if you could click on that right there and make the screen larger. Or that might work. Do we have video or audio?
It'll come up.
Okay.
It's coming.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, that's good. Now you can hear it. Is there audio?
I don't have any audio from it, so maybe you can kind of explain.
That's all right. We'll run.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's fine. These are just
Yeah, get the
examples of intersection art.
The idea of what's happening.
And then, and you can see how people of all ages can be involved in this and all skill level. You don't have to have a master's degree in anything. You just have to have a willingness to get out there and, in many cases, just stay within the lines. But so they're bright, they're colorful, they add interest. And I think that may be the end. And what you see here are cartoons, you see bright colors, but we talked a lot about, and I've canvassed the neighborhood, going a block in the same direction from Inverness and the length of Inverness. I haven't talked to everyone yet, but I've been asking people, what would you like to see? What do you think represents our community? And the overwhelming response is that we love art, we have a great sense and a strong sense of history, and we love our flora and fauna. We have a beautiful community, and we want people to know that. And then here are some. Thank you, David, for the music. Okay, the little clicker's not working. So we're up to intersection art examples, and we're almost finished, so. That's okay. So the Temple Terrace intersection art in particular of what we wanted, what the kind of goals we set for it with the people in the community are that we want to involve the community. This isn't something where an artist is going to come in, paint something beautiful and walk away. The artist is conceiving the notion of what we want, but then everyone is invited out to have a part in it. The second thing is to celebrate the beauty of the city, of course, as I mentioned, the flora and fauna, and the environment, to be interesting and attractive, and to tell a story, and to be memorable. The one thing I've seen in a lot of the intersection art, and I've done research, we actually started this back in 2017, and I remember telling Sherry, if one of the examples had pulled up, that I thought maybe we should make the art should be people swimming in their bathing suits, and then an alligator swimming up behind them, so that when people drive over it, they're like, ah! But then we decided, Sherry, just one look from Sherry was no.
Maybe not.
Yeah. So then we talked about what the qualifications for the artist should be, because it's a very unusual kind of thing. You can't just be an artist if you're going to work with people. That's a whole nother kind of a skill. So we decided we needed an accomplished artist, that we didn't want to try a brand-new person who'd never done anything at all before, even though we might support that in other projects. But in this particular one, we wanted it to be right. So we also felt it was important to have a style appropriate for the community and for the project. There's so many different styles of art. There's people sent in graffiti work and all different kinds of things, but we really wanted this to be a good message for Temple Terrace. Also, an artist who could understand the emotional aspect of the artwork. People live around here. People love their community. They want the art to complement that in a way that's appropriate. We also wanted the artist needed to have the ability to work with people who have a variety of skills and to project positivity at all times. That's critical to this project. So, in closing, I'd like to ask everyone to save that date, Brewfest Day, 10 o'clock at the corner of Glen Ridge and Inverness Avenue. The paint and the outline will be all furnished and ready to go by then. We'll have some smocks for people to wear. We'll have, of course, some water to drink and snacks. It's going to be a great time. And the street will be closed for those who live in the area. We picked this intersection also because it was a really good intersection. It's a three-way intersection. It has a canopy of trees over it. It's as you can see from that, it's much wider than most intersections are, and it needs help. It's it's kind of a sad little intersection and needs some brightening up. So we hope that you'll come out and be a part of it. The closing, I believe, is going to start on Friday, Charles, Friday evening, the 17th, and run through Monday, the 20th. And
That's correct.
we also picked this intersection because there were so many ways you could get around it. The detour is not tremendous. It really is only going to be closed from Glen Ridge to the very edges of Inverness there. And there are plenty of ways to get around it with just a block out of the way. And then there's a whole street that runs on the other side of the golf course. So I hope that people will be okay with that and that we can all move forward, and I can't wait to see this finished. It's going to be so exciting. Does anybody have any questions?
Kim, is there a phone number you'd like people to reach out to you if they'd like to be a part of this project or engage with you? Is there some kind of, would you like some idea of RSVP on number of volunteers who will be attending? If you'd like to share a phone number or a contact email?
Yes, the 813-988-ARTS, which is 2757. But we welcome people, even if you don't want to RSVP, to just come out, be a part of it. Even if you don't feel like painting, you can come out and watch other people paint. And I did witness the Seminole Heights intersection painting, and it was a lot of fun. But I think that we have such a strong community that we're going to have a far better turnout than they have. So are there any other questions?
Thank you, Kim.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Stevenson, does that conclude your report?
No, ma'am, I've got a few other things, if I may. Thank you to Kim. I know she's worked really hard on putting this together. It ought to be a fun project, and it ought to be something that's different and new for us. Hopefully, we can encourage everybody to do more as we move on. So, a couple things here, just to, again, as a matter of clarifications. At our last meeting, Madam Mayor, you had brought up 3 things that you had noticed in the CAFR that I thought needed to be cleared up and addressed. One was the school enrollment numbers. 2016 and 2017 numbers actually recognized schools that were outside of the city boundaries. We were able to reach out to the school district and get some good numbers. The number that is there listed this year is a good number and includes only those schools, including charter schools, that are within our boundary, okay? The past 2 years, I'm not quite sure where those numbers came from, but we'll make some adjustments moving forward so that we have historical numbers that are accurate. The other question that you brought up was the increase in permits. That is a good number. There was 800 additional permits, and kudos to the Community Development Department for doing a great job with picking up that slack. The third was an increase in tonnage for special waste. We were able to track this back to, in fact, Hurricane Irma, actually down to 1,200 tons. So that is a good number that is in the CAFR. That is actually something that we accomplished as far as special waste pickup. During our last budget session, we had promised council that we would look at some of the landscaping that we're losing along 56th Street down in the CRA district. You will start seeing some new plantings going on down there. Joe Ferris and Jan Holcomb have provided me with a plan to do some replantings down there. So as the year goes on, and we kind of gave them until this year because we kind of committed some money to them. So they are, in fact, working down there, and they've given me a plan to do something every month from now till September. So Family Rec Center, after our last meeting, Family Rec Center had their annual summer kickoff, and this year was the most successful thus far. As far as a record, they brought in $49,453 in revenue. That's the most they've ever done. That's a great job to Carl and his staff. To follow up that, the rec center is in phase 3 as far as the construction is concerned. That is expected to be completed by the end of this month. And we're looking at, once we get the contractor all there and done, out of the way, doing a ribbon cutting ceremony sometime in June. We'll be getting back to council and finding out a good day for everybody. The 16th, remind everybody we have a workshop from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on annexations. Mr. Pauly has been working very hard with the directors to put a program together that I think you'll be satisfied with. A lot of information, and we're looking for some good direction. I think you're going to have a lot of good information to give us direction. The first meeting in June, we have opened the window on the property down at CRA once again, because we've got a lot of interest going on with the CRA property. Come the first meeting in June, we may be scheduling a CRA to discuss those offers and presenting those offers to the CRA, and then coming to council so that we can get some direction on how you guys want us to proceed with those offers. This is something that was unexpected. Last Friday, Lynn approached me and told me we had 2 deposits into our account, 2 transfers that we didn't know anything about. She was able to track them down, and it is our first 2 payments from the transportation surtax that totals about $311,000. So we are moving forward with that. We've certainly got our list. We're coming up with some plans in order to spend that money, but we will be doing that as we go along. I've given instructions to my directors that they need to make sure that they count every single nickel that goes into projects so that we can account for all this money that we get. So as we start putting a plan together to spend some of that money, we'll certainly make sure that council's well aware of what we're doing. Sunnyside lots, there are 2 lots that we had talked about negotiating a contract with Habitat for. There was some concern that we were not putting that out on the street. We have, in fact, put together an advertisement that will go out Friday, if I'm not mistaken, to advertise those lots for sale and take sealed bids, and we'll be bringing those results back to council probably first week in June or second meeting in June. Brewfest is the 18th, 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
Right, 4 to 8.
Okay. City manager will be out of town from the 9th until the 14th, and in my absence, Ray LeBlanc will be assuming the functions of city manager. Certainly, if you have any questions, I can certainly be reached, but I'm sure that Ray will do a good job in trying to help you with if you got any difficulties. That is all I've got. Just really just kind of some cleanup and just to let council know what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Is there any further business to come before council?
I have a comment. I just want to thank the Red Cross. They were in Temple Terrace this morning. They actually installed 50 free, they went to 50 homes in Temple Terrace and installed free, my brain, thank you, fire, thank you, smoke detectors, sorry. And then they were in the county at Lamplighter, where I believe they installed 300. So that's a lot of fire prevention. So a lot of volunteers came out to do that today. So just wanted to give them a little shout out. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mention it earlier.
Thank you. Any further business? Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.